Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas. Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejados.
Because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
Hello, everyone. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Nathan.
And welcome to episode 69 of Adventures and Mousecapades.
Nice. This week, we're talking about the conflagration of Murphy that happened last night. If you don't know, Murphy is the Maleficent dragon in the Fantasmic show in Disneyland. And he definitely had some fire effects last night.
Yes, to his detriment.
Yes, to his death, we'll say. He basically consumed himself and has this morning just kind of a crumpled, melted pile of bleh.
Yes, so Fantasmic in Disneyland is postponed indefinitely until they clean all that up and finish the investigation.
Yes, they do have a B mode for that show, so it'll come back at some point, probably in a couple, 2 or 3 weeks, would be our guess. Disney hasn't said anything officially at this point other than, hey, it's on pause. And they've also said that they're going to pause similar fire effects to that mechanism globally, which I believe the only other case of that, based on what I saw online just a little bit ago, is the Maleficent parade float in Magic Kingdom in Florida. Everything else is a go. Yeah, which itself had its own issues several years ago. So perhaps that mechanism needs to be retired. But the Fantasmic show in Disney World at Hollywood Studios is not impacted. Evidently, that is a different mechanism and way of using fire. So that is still a go. And we'll be getting B mode in California for the foreseeable future.
Yes, indeed.
Which is, it's still a thing. The show will go on. It won't have quite as much fire.
We are talking about the food on the Disney Wish today.
Indeed. And just as a disclaimer, if I sound a little under the weather, it's because I am. The trees here in Seattle have finally realized that it's time to be spring, and they are copulating profusely, and that is impacting me, and I feel horrible. So let's do a podcast.
There's pollen everywhere.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
All right, so the wishes dishes. Let's talk through this stuff. Where are we going to start, Alicia?
I think we're going to go for the lounges and cafes first. There were a bunch of these that we just did not hit. We're not coffee drinkers, so yeah.
Yeah, we're the two people in Seattle who don't drink coffee.
Yeah. So there were a couple of bars that we got something at, but most of the cafes we didn't stop at.
We'll start from the top down. On deck 14, up towards the front funnel, there is the Currents Bar. We didn't actually get ourselves up there because we had the concierge lounge and bars available to us, and there was just not a need to visit this. It did look nice up there, though, and I'm sure would be a great place to get a imbibing drink. There's the Cove Cafe on the opposite end of the ship, and that was a lot smaller than the Cove Cafes are on the other ship.
Yeah.
But I think that's because there's a bunch of coffee spots all over the ship here on the Wish.
That's
and
true.
so they don't need that density. There's also the Cove Bar back there in the adults area. Again, the Cove Cafe and bar are in the 18 plus zone. The cafe has kind of a subdued Moana theme. It doesn't have any snacks or munchies there. It's really just a coffee bar. So it's very different. The complaint that I will have with both of these places to get a drink is you have to go outside and walk a fair piece if you want to get to anything there. And if you are in poor weather, that's not always fun to do. So I don't really agree with the design goals here, but it is what it is.
The next bar is The Rose on deck 12. And this is kind of the beginning area to the adult dining places, the Palo Steakhouse and Enchanté. So to get to The Rose, you kind of go through a nice hallway. It has interpretations of the live action Beauty and the Beast characters. There's, I believe, Lumiere, Cogsworth, and Mrs. Potts tea set there. Some nice little illustrations. And at the end of that hallway is a beautiful, I think it's like a paper mache rose or something at the very end of the hallway on a table under the glass, like on top of some books. And there's a mirror there as well. It's a really nice touch, very elegant, very pretty.
Yeah.
The Rose itself is a beautiful space. There's seating along the floor-to-ceiling windows on the port side. It's very nice, really pretty place to just sit and watch the water.
Yeah.
We didn't sit in that area at all when we were there before. We were with a group of people, and so we were along the tables on the other side of the Rose.
Well, it was also like 10 or 11 at night when we were there with those folks. So it was dark. You weren't going to see much of the ocean at that point.
Yeah. The bar area is very elegant in there. Behind the bar, there's a mirror with some nice rose petal accents. And there's a guest book that you can sign over in that area as well.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this in our previous Wish episode a couple weeks ago. If I had my druthers, I would have taken some time to just sit up there and read in one of those chairs facing out towards the ocean, probably on this sea day. I think this is the downside of the Wish in its current setup, is that it's just going to be doing those 3 and 4 night sailings, and you really don't have time to take everything in unless you're going to be doing back-to-backs or, it's not your first time or even second time on the Wish and you have some more leisurely availability to kind of do whatever. I'd much prefer the longer cruises. So I'm hoping to do this on the Treasure.
Yeah.
And that'll be exciting. Good spot. Next up, we have another coffee joint. This is the Marceline Market Cafe. This is on 11, right before the buffet starts for Marceline Market proper, which is the modern iteration of cabanas on the other ships. So this is your buffet. So again, you don't have to go up to Cove Cafe to get a coffee for breakfast in the morning. You can just get it right there at the buffet in Marceline Market.
This looked really nice. We walked by it a couple of times. It didn't seem too busy, even though it's in the middle of the hustle and bustle of Marceline Market.
You were there for a breakfast. I think I was doing something or slept in, or I forget what it was. How was it? Was it super busy during that breakfast? I know you were saying Marceline Market in general was slammed when you were there. Do you remember how the cafe was?
It must have been just the seating over there, I think, was full. I don't think the cafe itself was super busy, but because it's seating, there was just nothing there.
Yeah, got it. Also on 11, out near Mickey and Friends Festival of Food, is The Lookout, which is a bar. So you can get a beer or a drink with your barbecue or whatever pizza you're getting from that quick service restaurant out there on the pool deck.
Down to deck 5 is the Enchanted Sword Cafe. It is outside Mickey's Mainsail and Shutters, another coffee spot. I'm fairly certain this has a Sword in the Stone theme to it.
I think you're right. Yep. Also on 5, we're going to hit our first, we'll call it a proper bar/lounge. Well, I guess the Rose is another one, but for the less fancy and pretentious of us, the Keg and Compass is the pub on board. It has a beautiful dark wood Nordic sailor theme and maps on the ceilings and beautiful wood carvings all over. It's just a fantastic space. Now, please note, they don't serve any food until after 4 p.m. So I went for a mid-afternoon, beer and a pretzel, and I was not able to get the pretzel until 4. Kind of a bummer, something to keep in mind. Now, when I did eventually get that pretzel, it was amazing. It was super hot too. So evidently their galley is right there. Highly recommended. And they do have a cider on board as well, available in the keg and compass for folks like Alicia who prefers cider over beer.
It's the Angry Orchard cider, which unfortunately I don't like. It's too sweet. While I was there, I got something called the Skal Sangria, which is basically a strawberry-ish beer. This space is gorgeous, and there are so many Easter eggs in it too. The porthole windows have wood carvings around them, and it's like octopi holding Disney snacks. So you've got one holding like a Dole Whip or a Mickey pretzel. It's just really cool. And the map on the ceiling has all sorts of little Easter eggs. I'm fairly certain the Up House is on there, and Moana's boat, and some other stuff too.
I also want to call out that they have the same kind of, I guess we'll call it printing thing that you can do on top of like a cappuccino or whatever. My beer showed up and it had "It's my beer day" kind of stenciled on top of the foam. It was really kind of cute.
Fun. Another one we did not end up getting libations at was the Luna Libations bar that is in the Luna Club.
Yes.
That's on the 4th deck on the bottom floor of Luna.
Yep. Also there on deck 4, right near the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, Hook's Barbery, and the Tangled Salon, is the Wishing Star Cafe. This is yet another coffee joint. So there's lots of availability of coffee all around that ship, and this is why the Cove Cafe is so small. You don't have to go up there to get your coffee and snacks and things like that.
Well, it doesn't have snacks anyway.
Well, that's a very, very good point.
Down a floor on deck 3 is the Star Wars Hyperspace Lounge. We spent a couple hours here over the course of our cruise. It's such a fun area. Outside of the lounge area, there is a display area that has glasses, wine bottles from Skywalker Ranch, as well as a display screen that highlights different cocktails and beers depending on the day that you're there. When you go in, it's really cool because you have to push a button and then the door opens and you go inside.
It's very Star Wars.
Yes, it's very Star Wars.
We had a couple different drinks on our 2 different visits. The one that I really, really loved is basically a space old fashioned. And it is called the Tatooine. It is a Freetown Reserve. Kind of has a smoked maple kind of sweetness going on from it. The official description is made of bantha hides mashed with fermented grains. And it also has Woodford Reserve Double Oaked, which is some really, really good stuff. I love how they have a smoker that they can do these big like bubbles of smoke, then they can put them on top of drinks and things like that. It was really cool. And then I will note they put a single big ice cube inside of the Tatooine drinks, and it doesn't quite 100% translate, and you can't get it to stand up inside of the glasses that they serve these in, but it is a Stormtrooper helmet ice cube. It's very cool.
It's really neat.
Alicia, what'd you have?
I had 2 different drinks. The first one I had was the Mustafar Birkin's Flow, which is from the largest lava fall in the galaxy. Silver Ray coconut, rum chata, Godiva chocolate, and coconut water. This was very good. It's a lot more fruity than I was thinking. I did not taste the chocolate. I tasted mostly the coconut. It was a light pink drink. I also had an orangey citrusy drink. I don't remember what it was. It had boba pearls on it, and it was orange-ish and very good.
There's nothing like sitting in this space, and especially if you get a seat at the bar and enjoying, some good conversation with the folks that you're there with, enjoying the space scenery as you whip by. I do think they could have done a little bit more immersive theming, especially on that back wall. It's not a blank wall, as some of the early reviewers were talking about. So I have a funny feeling, and then talking to some of the crew members on board, that especially when those inaugural cruises happened or the preview cruises happened, I think not everything was done. And so there is definitely more theming in Hyperspace Lounge than there was originally, but I think they could have gone a little bit more. I think the space could have been a little bit bigger. There
Yeah.
definitely wasn't the opening crush of people were, like having to do wait lists and the wait lists were selling out and well, not that you have to buy it, but they were getting full and people weren't able to get in and you were limited to a very short amount of time. And it wasn't like that. We didn't have any issues finding a spot both times that we went in. So that was actually a pleasant surprise to not have to face some of those. I really enjoyed it. I don't think it's my favorite bar. I think Oga's Cantina is way more immersive than this space is. But as a replacement, if you will, a substitute for the Skyline Lounge that we see on the Fantasy, and I forget what it's called over on the Dream, but the same kind of thing where you have a bunch of big screens and you're there, hopping between different cities and things like that. Here with the Hyperspace Lounge, I think they did a really good job and I really enjoyed it. I will have one of those Tatooine drinks again for sure. That thing was amazing.
And I'll keep trying a couple of the other things too. This space actually has a souvenir glass that you can get if you so choose. It's the Hyperspace Lounge glass, and I think they have 2 different kinds that you can only get there. They also have the Porg glass that you can get at Galaxy's Edge, but this one is just at the Hyperspace Lounge. It's just a clear glass and it has a tube of silver on the bottom.
Yeah. It looks nice. I don't know where we'd ever use it, and so we didn't get one.
Yeah.
But it was a thing.
Mm-hmm. Right next to or across from the Star Wars Hyperspace Lounge is the Bayou. We did not eat or drink anything here, which is a huge miss because they had beignets and we did not get beignets. I know. It's a beautiful space.
Yeah.
Has kind of a flowery canopy up on the ceiling. It's really nice. There's a stage, some nice little Princess and Frog decor throughout.
It was typically pretty busy too. I don't think it was ever super full, but there were always a bunch of people there. Across from the Hyperspace Lounge, again, you have the Bayou kind of in the middle. This is something that you don't get on the Fantasy Dream and definitely not in the Magic and Wonder, where there's a strip of stuff in the middle of the ship. So if you go on the port side, you have Hyperspace Lounge. In the middle is the Bayou. And then on that starboard side there is all the super fancy shops that are full of very expensive watches and jewelry and things like that I don't think anybody was buying. But next door, back on the port side, next door to the Hyperspace Lounge is Nightingale's, which is the piano bar iteration here on the Disney Wish. It's a very small seating. It's very plush and fancy inside, but it does not have the kind of space that if you were thinking of a piano bar, say like on the Wonder, and you have Cadillac Lounge and it's huge and spacious, Nightingale's is absolutely not that. And I think that's a difference between the Wish and the other ships in general, is that these spaces are much smaller. There's more of them, so you have a wider variety, but they're all fairly small.
This is themed after Cinderella, the Sing Sweet Nightingale song that is sung in that movie. It's very pretty inside. We had a chocolate and liquor tasting there. Mm-hmm. We love the chocolate and liquor tasting. We've talked about it before. It's something that we will always do, I think.
We had ours. We started the day off right at 11:30 with our chocolate and liquor tasting. The offerings on tap that day, we started off with a rose champagne. It was nice and dry, very reminiscent of the Skywalker Rosé, just fantastic. It was a Tattinger. It had a lot of fruity notes, kind of some hints of vanilla in there, and that was paired with a white chocolate. It was very good. Next up was a red wine. It was an Amaro blend from John Lasseter's Bordeaux winery. It's very dry and dark in flavor, a lot of kind of black currants, a little harsh from the alcohol though. It's a higher alcohol content wine at 14.8%. There's a lot of tobacco and leather flavors that you'll get through that drink. We tried it with a dark chocolate, which is not my favorite kind of chocolate, and also with a caramel and white chocolate chips as well. It was really interesting to see how the different flavors were brought out by those 3 different types of chocolate. I didn't really enjoy the wine by itself. I really didn't like it with the dark chocolate, but the caramel and the white chocolate chips really helped, and I actually enjoyed those combinations quite a bit.
And I think this was the first red that I liked and you didn't.
Yes, yes.
I don't know that I could just drink it though. That's just me with wine. It's hard for me to just drink wine. But having the chocolate to temper it out was quite nice.
Yeah. The third up on the drink list was one of our favorites that we discovered on our last cruise was a port wine, the 10-year Tawny Noval. Holy cow. This
good.
stuff is amazing. It's plummy. There's some apricots, kind of a raisiny essence that you get from it. It's a sweet taste, but not overly sweet like some ports can be. It's 19.5 alcohol by volume, so just keep that in mind. And this was paired with my absolute favorite thing. It's not chocolate. It's the Parmesan Reggiano cheese. Oh,
It's good stuff.
It's salty and hard, a little creamy when you start biting through it and chewing. Oh, but the blend with the port, yeah, knock me out. I'm ready
very
to
good.
such amazing stuff.
The last one was a Scotch. It was the Glenmorangie Signet. It's a 30-year-old, 46 alcohol by volume.
And that means the youngest thing in that bottle is a 30-year.
Yep.
Has a very smoky and peaty kind of smell, but it's not as bitey, we'll call it, as some of the other younger Glenmorangies can be. It's smoothed out. In theory, you're supposed to hold your scotch, your fancy scotch like this, in your mouth for 1 second for every year that the bottle is aged. So for this stuff, if you hold it for 30 seconds, I mean, some people, it will burn their
I was
nostrils.
going to say, I think that would just take all the skin out of my mouth.
I enjoyed it, though. It really brought out a whole bunch of different notes from it that I don't think I've ever held a scotch in my mouth for that long. So it was really cool to see. And then this was paired with a melted dark chocolate, which brought out some of the more coffee notes. Not my favorite because we don't drink coffee, and it's because of I don't like how it tasted. But then we also had a melted caramel that just brings out this beautiful butterscotch note and really covers up the alcohol kind of burning feeling. That was, I love that part. And then if you try it with white chocolate, that brings out kind of more orange and ginger notes out of the Glenmorangie Signet. So it was really neat to see all of these different combinations and how they change, like from the regular drink and then you add some other stuff in and how it changes what those things taste like. And I was quite surprised Alicia finished off her scotch.
I was going to say, this is the first time I finished all the drinks. All of
You
them.
done good. I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of you.
Yay.
Of course, it meant less for me, but oh well.
It's okay.
We missed one on 4.
What did we
we'll
miss?
hop back upstairs. Hook's Barbery.
That's right.
That is a barbershop that happens to also have an old-fashioned bar in it. And I don't mean like an old-fashioned bar, although it is decorated like an old-fashioned bar, but this is a small bar that specializes in old fashions. They're open from, I think it's 4 to 9. So it's a very limited availability in terms of time. It may have been 5 to 8. Anyhow, check the app for what the timing is. But it is well worth your time to go and make a visit. Well, we're on board. The head bartender there was Jennifer from Colombia. She was amazing. She can make a mean drink. All the old fashions that I had from here were fantastic. And when I say plural, it's because not only did I have a spa treatment that started off there, and I had a mani-pedi that I got to enjoy with my old-fashioned, but we also did an old-fashioned tasting our first night right after our late dinner.
Which is new. They
Yes.
haven't offered old-fashioned tastings before.
It was amazing. I love this so much. It is one of the more expensive tastings that
Yes.
they offer. It's $100 a person, but it was an intimate experience. It's there in Hooks Barbary. They only have room for like 6 people. And Jennifer was just amazing. And her drinks were even better.
Yeah. There were 4 different types of old fashions that we had. The first one was a twist on just the original.
It had some pepper flakes
Yes,
in it.
chili pepper flakes.
Chili pepper flakes. So it was a more spicy take on what would otherwise have been a traditional old fashioned. And this was a little too spicy for my palate. But that's okay. I
liked
enjoyed it. Bill, it's okay.
I thought it
did
was very good. I enjoyed it.
finished it.
I don't think I finished all of mine because this is high alcohol content,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't have been able to walk if I finished all of them. But this one was very good. I liked it a lot.
I helped.
Yes.
The second one we had was a maple old fashioned that had Johnny Walker Blue in it, and it had a bacon garnish on it. And this is much more my speed. I like my old fashions slightly into the sweeter side of things. I don't like when they're overly bittered, and this one was amazing. Totally loved it. And the bacon on top. You could never have too much bacon.
It's true. We're not giving away all the ingredients for these. Jennifer was nice and she did tell us what was in all of them. Different alcohols were used, different qualities of alcohol, different bitters. There's a lot of differently flavored bitters now. You can get like coffee bitters, orange bitters, tons of stuff. And it will totally change the taste of your old fashioned.
But we didn't take notes too much. We took a few videos of the explanations, but we really just enjoyed our time and enjoyed the drinks. So
The next one we had was what Jennifer called a French old fashioned. And some of the things that were included in there was ginger and cognac.
this was very good as well.
This was good, yeah. The French old fashioned had a sugar cube on a toothpick, basically hovering above the alcohol itself. And it was a ginger sugar cube. It was pink, but it was ginger.
Yeah.
And you could choose to either swirl that in or leave it on top just for the essence of it, I guess. It added a bit of a kick to it, actually.
Yeah, it did. Lastly, we had our amaretto caramel old fashioned. This was so good. It was paired with a candied and chocolate covered orange. I love amaretto. The one thing I've learned from our tequila tours and other things that I've done is that I love an amaretto infused drink. And this one was no exception. This one knocked it out of the park. It was absolutely fantastic.
And it sounds like it would be super sweet, but it was not. It had just enough sweetness to it. It was very good.
Yep.
Although I could have just eaten a whole bunch of the candied chocolate oranges because those were really good too.
Jennifer was also kind enough to show off a box and bottle of some incredibly rare whiskey that they have there on board. They have a Mount Vernon pure rye whiskey that is over 100 years old. I think she said it goes for like $800 to $1,000 an ounce if you want to get it mixed into your drink. So if you really want a very fancy, very expensive old fashioned, they can accommodate your needs. Obviously, this was not included in our $100 tasting menu, but it was really cool to see the box and the packaging from 100
Prohibition
years ago.
era.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to our actual dinner rotational dining stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So the first restaurant we're going to talk about is actually the last restaurant that we went to. And this is Arendelle, a frozen dining adventure. This was a good show. I really enjoyed it.
This was fun. The musicians and the actors just did a fantastic job. If you're lucky enough to be near the stage, it's just phenomenal. If you're not, I don't know how much of the show would be interesting to you because it's difficult to see from the back corners and things like that. So I could see this being a mixed bag depending on where you're actually seated. Now, it does look like, and from our experience and what we've seen in a few other places, if you're in concierge, you're much more likely to be right near the stage. In fact, we were right next to the stage.
We were right next to the stage.
If you're not, you could be anywhere in that room, and your mileage may vary based on that seating. So,
Yep. This restaurant is themed towards Queen Anna and Kristoff's engagement party.
yeah.
And going down the hallway into the restaurant, it's really cool because you have all these paintings that you see in the movies on the walls. So you've got Joan of Arc, hang in there, Joan, a picture on there, and a whole bunch of other stuff too. The family portraits, and you've got one of Olaf and like Kristoff and Sven. It's really cute. It's very well done.
And they have a bunch of reworkings of old masters pieces that are kind of done in a more Disney style. It's really, really cool to see what their artists were able to come up with here for these portraits. I really enjoyed it, really.
Yeah. And the show itself, I thought was phenomenal. The musicians that they had were great. They had a trio of a guitarist, a violist, and a singer doing interpretations of the songs from Frozen. I don't know what style that is. It's kind of folky, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's a good descriptor.
And man, are they talented people. They really are amazing.
Yes. And there is an Olaf animatronic that was working, and he almost stole the show. It was quite fantastic. And it was really neat to see how they got him up onto the stage, and then they had somebody pushing him around and stuff like this on this little cart. But it was just, it was really neat. It was really neat.
And we had Anna there, Elsa there, Kristoff, and Oaken was there as well. Oaken has started a catering company and basically catered the engagement party.
Exactly. He's kind of leading the party, if you will. And it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. And the food was pretty good too.
I think this was probably the best main dining meal that I had. It was really fantastic. It's not your typical fare. It's
Nordic.
very Nordic inspired, but I really enjoyed it. I think it was great.
Yeah, going into this, I wasn't sure if I would enjoy it or not, just because I don't think I've ever had any like specific Nordic type foods.
Right. And I've heard some people describe some of the stuff as interesting, we'll go with.
Yeah. So Nathan, you had a pretty cool drink that you got called the Ice Harvester.
Yes, this had Blanton's bourbon, Hennessy, Cointreau, and this like slab of sugar on top of it that looked like, the ice that they have to cut through. It was just a great blend of flavors. I probably could have had another one of these, but I didn't. Really enjoyed it.
For appetizers, I had Elsa's Royal Baked Scallops, which is shrimp tarragon bisque, rainbow carrots, leeks, flaky pastry. It was like a huge pot pie. It was the top of it was very flaky and buttery, and the innards of the pie it was very good. Good flavor.
I had a Jarlsberg cheese and rosemary ham tart. This was kind of like a light and fluffy pastry quiche rectangle. I enjoyed it. I know some other folks have kind of found it to be kind of meh, but I actually thought it was really well done and very well balanced. It wasn't huge. It wasn't dense. As an appetizer, it was great. I liked it a lot.
For the soup, I had the split yellow pea soup, which had pulled ham hock in it, panakaken. I don't know how to say that, panakaken. I don't know. It was good. It was a split pea soup, and I like split pea soup, so I enjoyed it.
I had Sven's favorite, carrot soup, that had caraway and rye sippets as well. I thought this was fantastic. It wasn't overpoweringly carroty. There was a lot of buttery notes in it. It had kind of a sweetness on it. I thought it was well balanced and really enjoyable.
Did I get 2 entrees or did you get 2 entrees?
I got 2 entrees because I wanted to try some different flavors.
Yep.
And I have never actually done this before on a Disney cruise. In a main dining experience, you can order 2 entrees. I've never done it before. This was my first time. So
Technically, you can order everything if you want, and they will bring you everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I had the Arendelle Kjot cake, which is braised meatballs, rosemary cream reduction, egg noodles, lingonberry chutney. The meatballs are just amazing, and it kind of has like a stroganoff sauce. It's nice and light. I didn't think the meatballs were too lammy at all. It wasn't very gamey. I really enjoyed it. The egg noodles were just delightful, especially with the sauce and the grated Parmesan. That dish was fantastic. I also had a sample of King Agnar's dry rubbed roasted pork tenderloin. This had a buttered chard, honey butternut squash, Yukon Gold potato puree, crisp shallots, red currant port wine reduction. It was a tick dry. It was really a third place entree of the table that we had, but I don't think it was a disappointment. The mashed potatoes were fantastic on this plate. Alicia, what did you have?
For my entree, I had the juniper spiced roasted chicken breast. It had scallions, duck confit, double fried potatoes, estragon wild mushroom ragu. This was amazing. This chicken was really tender, cooked perfectly, had a nice little bit of char on the outside. It was super juicy and just delicious. It also came with the potato sticks from Palo. They weren't cooked quite as well as the ones at Palo, but they were still very good. For desserts, I had the Troll Family's Rock Chocolate Bar, which is chocolate cakes, pistachio cookie rocks, and elderflower meringue. It was good. Not anything super memorable. It was a chocolate cake and was yummy.
I had Elsa's It's Coronation Sunday. This is mint chocolate chip ice cream, some marshmallows in there, fresh whipped cream, and snowflakes. This was fantastic. It's hard to go wrong with this stuff. However, I'm going to bring up a massive point of, it's a complaint about the Wish. I had, I think, a couple Sundays while we were here, or I had one and you had one. The spoons on the Disney Wish
They're too big.
to get to the bottom of the sundae glass that they use. Like, hello? So, my suggestion, if you're going on the Disney Wish and you enjoy sundaes as a dessert, I would bring some plastic spoons or a reusable spoon if you want, and wash it back in your room or whatever. But bring a small spoon so you can get to the bottom of the sundae and get all the deliciousness and ooey gooiness that's down there. You'll thank me for it.
Or just ask your server for a teaspoon.
Well, what? That doesn't. No, that would have made sense. But you shouldn't have to. They should give you a spoon that fits. Yeah. Not a soup spoon. A soup spoon does not fit to the bottom of a sundae glass.
Nope.
Okay. I'm done.
We were also at Arendelle for our debarkation breakfast. And I believe the menu is the same across the different restaurants. I had Nature's Muesli, which is a bountiful mixture of granola with oatmeal, raisins, dried fruits, yogurt, milk, and honey, and the French toast. Both of these were very good. I was happy with my choices.
I got the French toast as well because, well, duh. It's a butter-soaked brioche. And, it's fantastic. And then I had eggs for the road. It's basically what they used to call the Route 66 on the other ships, and probably still do. They don't have that officially on the menu, but effectively, it's a Route 66. So some scrambled eggs, hash browns, bacon, goodness.
That was yummy. All right. The next restaurant we're going to cover is Worlds of Marvel. And this was, I think, our second restaurant we were at.
Correct. We're going down. So the Arendelle's on 5, Worlds of Marvel is on 4, and 1923 is on 3.
Yes.
But this was the second restaurant we went to, and it's a restaurant. It is a place where you can sit down and get some food, and
It is a much louder restaurant. Actually, Arendelle was pretty loud as well. It was also very cramped seating. I think Arendelle was cramped too.
yeah.
The seating wise, it's very different on the Wish in these rotational dining places. Very packed in.
Yeah, you've got side to side. They basically set all the tables in these long rows, and you have maybe 6 inches between tables. It's almost like a family style seating. And you've got a couple dozen people on each side of the table. Not necessarily my favorite.
Yeah.
The show here in Marvel,
It was cute. I thought it was a nice little show.
it's not a must do for me.
No.
Of having to repeat it. Like, I just don't know about the longevity of this. It's not like some of the other shows. If you think of Animator's Palette, which this effectively replaced, you've got animation, which is different every day. You've got Turtle Talk with Crush going on, which makes it unique and special for every time that you are there. This is, they've got a computer set up with a movie and stuff, and they just press play and go. And hopefully they're going to evolve this over the years, but otherwise this is going to get really stale. And this would be a night for us to go to Palo or Enchanté or try room service for once that we've never actually done.
Yeah.
This just didn't seem super compelling to me.
Yeah. It's a little interactive. I mean, it has to do with the PIM particles. So there's a quantum cores on your table, and you get to push buttons at different times during the show. And there is a superhero that comes and walks through and talks to everybody, which is kind of
That was cool.
That was cool.
That was the one cool thing that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Of seeing a superhero who was kind of on the screens, and then all of a sudden he's walking around and saying hi. That was neat.
Yep.
That was a surprise. I enjoyed that.
Food-wise, Nathan, you had the Wakanda Tasting Lab drink flight.
Yeah, this was interesting. This was a Star rum. It had a vodka. It had a gin. And there were lots of different tastes and cocktails supposedly developed by the Wakanda Design Group mixologists, or something like that, using ingredients cultivated on Mount Bashenga. I think most of these were pretty good. There were some nice flavors, a nice diversity of what was going on. Nothing was really write home about. I could easily skip this and be just as happy with a glass of wine. But I wanted to try. I wanted to see what was there, what was on the menu, and see what was going on.
Yep. For appetizers, I had the dill and Meyer lemon marinated shrimp. This did not have a lot of taste to it at all. It was very watery and pretty much tasteless, honestly.
Well, that's interesting because I had the steamed bao bun, which is supposedly seared ginger orange pork belly, toasted sesame seeds, pickled daikon, spring onions, and a marin soy honey glaze. And this didn't have a lot of taste either. It wasn't stuffed as you'd think of a bao bun would be. Ingredients were just kind of piled on top of the dough. The pork was good. There's a very sweet note from something in there. But I mean, overall, this was meh.
I think this is going to sound bad, but the best part of this meal was the bread service.
Yeah.
It was good. They had like a marbled red and brown bread, and it was yummy.
Yeah. Yes.
For the soup course, I had the Kartoffel soup, which was creamed potato soup, carrots, celery, knockwurst, and thyme. The flavor was actually really good on this one, but the knockwurst just seemed like it was chopped up hot dogs, and that was a bit off-putting with it.
And they were definitely boiled hot dogs. Like
Yeah.
It wasn't like they weren't trying real hard here.
Nope.
I had a white cheddar and broccolini soup with toasted cornbread snippets. It was, again, really bland. I didn't taste cheddar really at all. I didn't get any corn. Again, meh.
We both had the chicken schnitzel, which is a panko crusted chicken breast, butter sauteed potato slices, caramelized onions, long green beans, lemon, anchovy capers. It was all right. There's nothing fancy about it. There's no complaints about the taste. It was fine.
It was solid. Like it was a meal. It met the need. It didn't taste horrible. It wasn't anything to really write home about.
And Noel did bring a sauce for the chicken. I don't think I had it, but I think you did.
Yeah, it was super watered down gravy. It didn't have much taste. I didn't think the chicken actually really needed it, though he did note that the chicken is sometimes pretty dry, which is why he did bring it out. So they're still working through some things on this menu and some stuff in this kitchen. So
Yeah.
I will say Noel, our server, was absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
In working with us and guiding us around the menu into some of the hits and avoiding some of the misses. I think just in general, this restaurant for me is really skippable. I think we'll probably go when we're on the Wish again next year with Sterling because he's going to want to see this.
Yep, definitely.
If it was just Alicia and I, for one weird reason or another, on a short cruise on the Wish again, I would skip this meal 100%.
Yep. I also got a second entree. I got a vegetarian entree. I got the ricotta gnocchi, which is fontina cheese, caramelized grape tomato confit, broccoli rabe, arugula pesto. I wanted to like this, but it seemed like it was undercooked. It was extremely doughy, and that just kind of felt weird. I can't remember if I gave you a piece of this or not. There's not a lot of taste to it either.
There is a theme running through this meal. Like there's just not a lot going on.
Yep.
And contrary to what Bill may think, we do actually like tasting our food. And this just completely missed the mark as a meal. Like there just wasn't much going on.
The desserts were pretty good though.
Yeah, the desserts saved it. I would absolutely love these desserts anywhere else. I had a quantum key lime pie. This is a key lime curd, raspberry gel, whipped lime ganache. And my note says, heck yeah. It's nice and tart with a bit of sweetness. I really enjoyed the key lime pie here.
I had the Pim Donut Sundae, which was dulce de leche ice cream, a pecan brownie, caramel fudge sauce, and a chocolate glazed mini donut with whipped cream, of course. This was yummy. It was very good. It was a nice sweet ice cream. I didn't eat the donut. I just wasn't feeling it. I didn't want a donut at that time. You did have it.
Yeah. And I think my comment was, it's a good donut.
There you go.
There you go. Alicia also wrote down in our notes, the spoon is too big.
Yes.
So once again, Alicia, why didn't you order a teaspoon?
Because I was done with it.
Okay, fair enough. We'll let you
It
off.
was also the first time that we had a sundae and realized that the spoon was too big.
True. On to the last main rotational dining restaurant. This is down on deck 3, right off of the main lobby or main atrium. And this is 1923. I really enjoyed this meal. I enjoyed these restaurant spaces. There are 2 spaces for this main dining restaurant. One is the Walt Disney and the other is the Roy Disney. And they'll let you know which side your table is on. But because everything is split up, there's just a lot more separation between tables. It's more of a traditional restaurant setup where you'll have tables interspersed. There's display cases around. There's partitions between different sections of the restaurant. It doesn't feel like a big room with 1,000 people in there all trying to eat at the same time. And as a result, the volume level is a lot lower in there. You can actually hear your table mates talking. This was a much better space. And we're kind of, as you listeners may know, we enjoy some Disney memorabilia, and there is a ton of it around this restaurant.
There's some really nice theming in here, just in the different partition areas, in the display cases throughout. They'll pick a movie and basically you will see concept art from the movie. You'll see maybe some tchotchkes that are in that same theme. I think we had Peter Pan in the room near us. And there was, I remember walking by Cinderella, and It's just gorgeous. I love it. We did not spend a lot of time looking around here, and I think that's a miss on our part because there's just so many interesting things here.
Yep. We actually did get to enjoy 1923 twice. The first time was right after we got on board in concierge. This is where the concierge luncheon was on embarkation day on the Walt Disney side. And we had a penne pasta with tomato, basil, Provençal sauce, goat cheese, and spinach pesto.
Yes, that was mine, and I had that on our last cruise as well, and it's good.
And our assistant server while we were there for the concierge was Nico, who was an assistant server from one of our previous trips on the Wonders. That was really kind of neat. We were like, wait, you look familiar. And he was like, wait, you look familiar. So that was cool. I had a roasted beef tenderloin with sauteed mushrooms, a parsnip puree, and a Cabernet wine black truffle reduction with celeriac some chips.
Vegetable chips.
Yep. It was small, good tasting. It was kind of a really good portion, though. I didn't want a ton. I'm also watching what I eat a heck of a lot more than I ever used to, and I really appreciated the small portion size here.
One of the notes that we have here is we loved the soundtrack for this restaurant. Small jazz ensemble Disney covers. It was good stuff.
Yeah, it was. I would love to find this soundtrack and add that into my my Spotify rotation. It was absolutely fantastic. I, of course, as I am wont to do on embarkation day, had the carrot cake for dessert, and it's still, just like we had on the Fantasy, has a horrible frosting to cake ratio. Way too much frosting. But there is some lime in this frosting that at least cuts some of that sweetness down dramatically. And there was more carrot in here in our last cruise too. It was enjoyable, but I was telling Alicia earlier this morning, I don't know if I'm going to order this carrot cake anymore because it's just way too much frosting. I actually enjoy carrot cake. I mean, the frosting is a nice thing on side of it, but I need the cake, and they just don't deliver.
No, not on this one.
Not on this one.
I had the warm molten pot with homemade hazelnut gelato. This was a very rich dessert, very chocolatey. The ice cream tempered it down a little bit. There was a little bit of fruity sweetness in the ice cream, and actually some in the cake pot as well. It was very good. I could not finish it. It was so rich.
Let's go on to dinner that we had later that night. And we let Noel and Sufi, who are both from India, Noel was our server and Sufi was our assistant, let them know that we had a tasting that we needed to get to at 9:45. And so we would appreciate an upper pace, if you will, to the meal. And boy, did they knock it out of the park.
They're amazing.
This was quite a dramatic change from what we experienced on the Fantasy last August, where the service was slow, ironically, especially in Palo. Like we had a 4.5 hour dinner one night in Palo. It was just, it was not good. But Noel was on his game. If you're on the Wish, actually, no. I think he's just off the Wish. I think he is about to leave and be off for a little while.
He's also trying to move his way up. And,
that's true.
And he will move quickly. He's an amazing server.
Yes, yes. But anyhow, if you have a chance and you see Noel and if you can get him as your server, holy cow, absolutely fantastic dude. So for an appetizer, I had the burrata mozzarella cheese and prosciutto di Parma. I also had some crisp cranberry sunflower seed phyllo and a charred blood orange and a little bit of corn chowder. The prosciutto was freaking amazing. Basically, this was a little charcuterie board. It was really good. I enjoyed it a lot.
It looked amazing. We'll post a picture of this too. I'm like, my mouth is watering looking at it. I had the Hyperion 4-cheese tricolor tortellini with Meyer lemon, artichoke, sun-dried tomato, and baby spinach. This was very good. I don't know what to say other than that. It was good. I didn't have any notes on it, but I remember it Tasted yummy. Good balance of flavors. For the next course, I had a salad and you had a soup.
I did.
The salad I had was fennel, Bartlett pear, and tatsoi salad. I don't know if that's the right way to say it or not. It had cheese, walnuts, sherry dressing. It was good. I don't think I'd ever had a fennel salad before, but the mix of all the flavors worked very well together. The cheese was nice and creamy. The pear just balanced the fennel taste out a bit. I don't know how to explain the taste of fennel. It was a little bitter, but the other flavors in there made it taste very nice.
I had a pulled guinea hen cord chowder. It said Yukon Gold potatoes in it, a little bit of cilantro, and some smoked bacon. This was really good. A bit overpowered by the sweetness from the Chardonnay I was drinking, but it mellowed out as my palate adjusted. But the corn chowder was absolutely fantastic. Would have again.
We both had the 1923 peppered filet mignon for our entree. It came with buttered long green beans, smoked bacon, crushed fingerling potato hash, and pink pepper cafe au lait, which was like the dipping sauce.
Yes. The filet was a little bit dry, not too much flavor from the meat. It was peppery, but not overpowering. The sauce, though, was amazing and really rounded out the flavor of the bite that you had of the meat. The sauce really recovered that filet quite well.
The beans were wrapped in bacon, which was really kind of cool. It was very good. The potato was like a brick of a potato. It was okay. It wasn't super flavorful, but the sauce was amazing.
The sauce really helps make this meal work and pull together. For dessert, I had churros caliente. This is sugar spice churros, dulce de leche. It's warm, and despite the label, is not spicy at all. These are just some churros. They taste good, but these puppies were a bit stale. They were pretty tough to work through, unfortunately.
And I had the flourless orange almond cake with guava gel and lychee yogurt creme. The cake itself tasted really nice. I liked the orange and almond flavor. The gel on the top of it was kind of weird. I didn't like the texture of it.
And I will say that alongside dinner, I had the Lillet, something like that, experience. This was a Lillet Blanc, a Lillet Rosé, and a Lillet Rouge. This is basically a flight of wine. And the tagline or the description says, walk back in time and discover the classic flavors of the French aperitif, all paired with some exciting bites. So the Blanc was very good, and I am not a white wine drinker, but I really enjoyed this one. It came along with our favorite, or at least my favorite, Parmesan cheese. Absolutely fantastic, well balanced with that cheese and not too sweet. The rosé was pretty sweet up front, which isn't my favorite flavoring in wine, and it was paired with some walnuts, and I did not like how this rosé went with the walnuts. It was just not my cup of tea at all. Lastly, the Rouge was incredibly sweet, especially for red wine. I was not a big fan of this, but hey, your mileage may vary. And it was paired with some M&Ms, so, M&Ms.
I think I ate all the rest of the walnuts because I like walnuts. And you finished off the Parmesan.
Indeed.
We are going to head out to the rest of the food offerings for the ship and going all the way back up to deck 11 for the Mickey and Friends Festival of Foods. This is the on-deck dining areas. There's a whole bunch of different ones you can choose from. The Mickey Smokehouse Barbecue, Sweet Minnie's Ice Cream, Donald's Cantina, Daisy's Pizza Pies, and Goofy's Grill. We tried, I think, everything.
Yeah.
The barbecue, we tried the brisket and the smoked chicken. I did not like the brisket. This is not the flavor I was thinking of when I think brisket. It tastes like corned beef. This is not what I'm used to.
I mean, it's definitely a brisket.
Yeah.
Corned beef, they're the same kind of meat and they're same kind of preparation, but this wasn't really smoked that long. I think it was just really kind of like warmed up, where if you have something that's long smoked, it's going to get way more tender, start falling apart, and that kind of corned beefy type of taste matriculates into something a little bit more robust than what we had here. So I don't know that the brisket was my favorite either. The smoked chicken though was fantastic.
Yes, that was very good.
Daisy's pizzas also amazing.
Yes.
Nice and thin crust, completely full of flavor. Really, really well done.
It's different than the other ships. I don't know exactly what is different about it, but it has a different sauce taste. Just overall, the pizza is, I think, a step up.
Yes.
Goofy's Grill, we tried out the cheeseburger there. It's cafeteria quality with a little more flavor. The ones we had were a little dry.
Alicia, you were able to partake in Donald's Cantina, which is where you can get some tacos and burritos and some other Mexican fare, which is a first on the Disney fleet. What'd you think?
I would have been fine with coming for every meal there. I love tacos anyway, and this was good. All the different sauces you could put on them. I don't put any sauce on my stuff. I'm pretty much just meat, cheese, sour cream, and guac, and that's it. But the flavor was very good. Not too spicy, but enough flavor on there.
We also sampled the chicken tenders. Now, these are kind of the standard, tried and true DCL chicken tenders, but that is a good thing.
Yep, they're yummy.
These things are amazing. Also up in 11 is Inside Out Joyful Sweets. We walked through this right after we got on. We didn't go back and actually get anything, though. The theming was really cute. You've got all the memory balls and Bing Bong is crying candy. You know, it's all sorts of stuff from the Inside Out movie. The characters are there. I got my picture with Anger. There's gelato and ice cream and all sorts of cupcakes and macarons and all sorts of other sweets there for purchase.
Also on 11, not too far out from the Inside Out Joyful Sweets, is the Marceline Market. This is the buffet area called Cabanas on the other ships. The decor here is really nicely done, and it has a lot of compartmentalized seating, so partitioned areas. I went there once for breakfast one morning, and it was very full. I think I was there around 9:30 in the morning. There was no seating available for me inside, or they had a little bit outside seating too. I had to go towards funnel vision to find somewhere to sit.
Wow. So pretty standard. Right? I mean, that same problem happens on Cabanas on the other ships as well in terms of limited seating.
Yeah, I thought I was going a little later and it would be okay, because I could have gone at 8:30 and I thought that would be more crowded, but maybe I was wrong.
Lastly, up on 12 is Wheezy's Freezies, and they do frozen fruit smoothies up there that you can grab and go and enjoy. And that reminds me, one of the things that we didn't talk about is on 11 as part of Mickey and Friends Festival of Foods is Sweet Minnie's ice cream. And we did enjoy some soft serve while we were out there one day. Yes. And much to our children's appreciation, I finally had some soft serve ice cream on a Disney boat. So mission accomplished.
After 11, 12 cruises.
Yeah.
Finally had some. Yeah.
It is soft serve ice cream. Mm-hmm. It's just like I remember growing up and going to Dairy Queen, except they don't have the hard chocolate coating that you can put on it. So yeah, I missed that. But other than that, I enjoyed it.
We're going to do a little detour to Castaway Cay. We had a rum tasting there at the Heads Up Bar. When I booked this, I saw that it was on Castaway Day at 2 p.m. and I was very hopeful. I was like, I don't know if this is going to be on the ship or not. We'll see. And we saw that it was on Castaway. I was like, yay, we don't have to go back to the boat. So started off with something called Jamaican Delight. It was just a poured drink ahead of time in a very large cup. It was pineapple juice, banana liqueur, and Malibu rum, I believe. And that was delicious. I could have just downed that.
Yes. No complaints from us at all.
No. We had a really nice tasting here. There's so many different types of rum, and we got a nice I don't know, there's like 4 or 5 that we got to sample. Different flavors, all of them. Very good.
We had a Zaya 16-year reserved from Trinidad and Tobago. Would go great in an old fashioned. It's very smooth. It's not overly sweet. Some vanilla notes and a bit of a smoky heat on it. But this was some really good stuff. I enjoyed that one a lot.
We actually got to do a little bit of mixology with this as well. We
Yeah.
were given strawberry and lime. I took Nathan's strawberries, and we got to muddle this in the glass. Got some agave sugar juice and a 5 count of, I don't know how to say this. It's a Brazilian rum.
I think it's caipirinha
There you go.
or
Caipirinha.
something like that.
It was nice and refreshing with a touch of sweetness.
I especially liked it without the strawberries, but it was good. Just with the lime muddled, I really enjoyed this drink. Next up, we had a 23-year-old Zacapa from Guatemala. It's finished in red wine, sherry, and bourbon barrels, which is just fantastic with the flavors that it imparts to the rum. This would go great in a chocolate old fashioned. As you can see, I like old fashions, so I took all sorts of notes about old fashions. This was smooth and smoky, a bit more spices from the oak barrels, but still quite enjoyable.
The last one we had was a mix of, we had fresh mint in there, basil leaf, mango puree, and a 7 count of Bacardi Limon, topped off with some club soda. This was really good.
Yes, this was friggin' delightful, as some of our friends would say. It was amazing. Would go back a lot for this stuff.
We also got to have lunch at the Serenity Bay version of Cookies. Don't remember what it's called, if it is Cookies or something else.
I don't remember either, but it was really good. It was nice to not have the huge crowds that you see over on the family side. I thought the food was really well done and really enjoyed our meal there on Serenity Bay. It was great.
We've gone a little long with this one, so we will talk about our Palo brunch and dinner experience on a separate podcast episode.
Indeed, we will. So until then, we hope that this was helpful for you to understand what is available to you in terms of food and beverage across the beautiful Disney Wish. As a reminder, we're not affiliated with Disney or Disney Cruise Line. But if you do have any questions about a cruise or want to plan your perfect vacation, please do reach out to Disney directly or to your travel agent.
If you have any questions or suggestions, or if you would like to be interviewed on our show to share your experience, please send us an email to podcast@ourmousecapades.com.
Give us a follow on socials. We're at Our Mousecapades. And please give us a rating and review in your podcast app to really help people find us.
Thank you for listening. We'll be in your ears next week.
Thank you for flying Star Tours. Bye-bye.